I teach Igbo spirituality, and if this is a topic that you're interested in, hit subscribe. Now, the best way to support the channel is by joining our Patreon community at patreon.com/The Medicine Show. Patrons get access to my full research library, which has several books, articles, and first-hand accounts on Igbo spirituality. Patrons also have access to the ancestral calendar, which links to your Google Calendar, and it shows you the 4-day week and 13-moon calendar of our ancestors, and what observances was held on different moons and so forth. As I'm recording this right now, we are looking at Onwa Agon, a moon of spiritual cleansing and atonement for any wrongdoing in the previous year. And if you want to know how to celebrate that or how to go along with that, it's all there on the calendar. Patrons also have access to exclusive videos and our Odinani group chat where we get together and discuss different topics from the ancestral view. Now, if you're interested in learning the Igbo language this year, I've opened an Igbo language school at www.gedu.me. Gedu.me is the most effective Igbo language learning program in the world. And it works because we follow our ancestral method and we learn the Igbo language as our ancestors understand it, rather than a lot of these other schools that, that just kind of mimic an English language learning program because it doesn't translate well. Now, the reason I say it's the most effective language program in the world is because we have had several students that have never heard a word of Igbo, but within 3 months, they are speaking it and speaking it confidently. They can hold conversations and everything, and that's 3 months. So if you have told yourself you are going to learn the Igbo language, sign up for our upcoming session at www.gedu.me. And with that being said, let's begin. So, Josiah, I'm here with Josiah Umezuruike. He has something really interesting that I would like for him to share. So I kind of dragged him over here and said, hey, let's go ahead and have this conversation, and so forth. Not that I'm the first person to present it in public. His technology or his innovation is gaining a widening scope of application, let me put it that way. But I just wanted to have this conversation so that we can introduce it to the Medicine Show community. Josiah, I shouldn't even be saying one name. I didn't realize that you had the beard of an elder. I should be saying this. So.
At the same time, I'm still within your group. Still, okay. I chose not to dye mine. So
I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand that. I have a friend who he's stressed out about how gray his beard is looking, but I can't think of one benefit for a man for looking young. I'm ready for my stuff to start looking gray. You understand?
The gray is not the problem. The gray is not the problem. It's just a psychological issue. As long as you take good care of your health, your skin will still be young and everything. Your features will still be young. Just the gray tells the time that you've been around for so many months.
Exactly. Yeah, and it commands respect.
You've been around for many months. Yeah, it just tells the time.
I just have this one right here.
Exactly.
But I'm coming.
Yeah. Yeah. You still some people when they age gracefully, they still look nice. You'll be surprised their skin is still nice. Right. It's just that they have gray hair. That's it.
Do you have any type of diets or anything you do
For me, I stay away from sugar, period. We that migrated to the United States, we came in thinking that everything is all hunky-dory, only to find out that it's quite different. It kind of helps in hastening up the degradation of the human body. Right. When you rely on the food here. But if you engage in eating healthy and eating not too much, but sparingly, but continuously eating something, staying away from sugar, sweet stuff, and etc., making sure your body is more of fruits and vegetables, which are alkaline, I think that will keep you from getting all these diseases, and you retain your healthy nature, and you go with that. Over time, you'll be surprised. You never go to the doctor at all when you eat like that. Not everything that we eat have to taste good.
I've come to learn. Right, I've come to learn it's the exact opposite. That the worse something tastes, typically the better it is for you.
The
right?
healthier it is.
Yeah. So, over time, I'm understanding now why our ancestors ate so many bitter foods, right? If we want to talk about bitter leaf, bitter cola, all these different things.
Correct.
Yeah.
You got it.
Power, all that stuff. It's interesting too, because my wife came more recently than my family and myself, of course. But we just had this conversation where it's funny that in America, most of the things advertised as food are not food. And the issue, of course, is never there's not enough food, you don't know where to find it. It's you're going to put something in your mouth that's going to have some type of strange effect on you. Recently, we've cut soy out of our diet because my daughter, I had a daughter recently, and we noticed that she was growing very fast, right? Like very, very fast, like tall, everything like that, and so forth. And started getting like hair on her armpit and stuff. And we're like, okay, something's going on. So we went and got her hormone levels checked. And all of I'm not a doctor, but all of the female hormones were extremely high, right? And so they, of course, don't know what they propose. Oh, we're going to give her medication, this and this and that. And so we just did our own research because we did our own research, and we cut soy out of our diet, right? And it's been about 2 months now, and she's back on everything. She's back to exactly where she needs to be. But the amount of things that we came to find had like soy oil and so just different types of soy things was mind blowing. They put it in places where you wouldn't even know, right? And it just was having this negative effect on our body. So you have to you can't just put something in your mouth here. You have to read the label and research the company and figure out exactly where it came from and why and that kind of thing. And it's a lot.
How did you guys come to find out that it was soy?
Because we looked at all of the things that could possibly cause precocious puberty that aren't genetic. The first thing we did was I asked both of our mothers, did any of the kids have this coming up? They said no. We checked with our cousins, things like that, nothing. So it doesn't look genetic. Though my family were big people, her family, they're big people. So it's not shocking. And so once they told us it was precocious puberty, we just started looking. I mean, they proposed like, oh, we're going to do this test, and after a test, we'll give you this medication and that kind of thing. And anyways, that's a whole different conversation. But so we started researching. I was looking at the different things that can cause a child to go into precocious puberty in infancy. And one of the things that was cited was soy. Right. It's funny because there's been an increase in use they've replaced a lot of corn-based oil with soy oil now. Right. It's cheaper to make. And I want to say it's less stressful on farm soil. So you can farm it for a lot longer. And so they've done a replacement with a lot of them. But the issue is it's having adverse effects on a lot of people. And I mean, a lot of people say this, younger people are looking older quicker, if that makes sense. So, so I don't know if it's linked. I just know that that was experiment number one is we're going to cut that out. And you'd be surprised where you'd find it. I'm talking ice cream. We've cut dairy out. She doesn't do any dairy, no dairy. Whatchamacallit, just random places, any type of kids food, candy, it's all just deeply embedded in there. For some reason. And so we cut it out, and within like I said, maybe a month and a half, 2 months, we got her tested again. Her levels are all back to normal. So I don't, you can't just I told my wife when she first got here, don't do anything your grandmother wouldn't do. Or didn't do. Don't eat anything your grandmother didn't eat. Don't try nothing because at some time we lost the script. But anyways, enough about me and my own situation. I want to go into introducing you to the audience. So I'm speaking to Josiah Umezuruike. Josiah, I don't know if you want to take the mic from here and let us know who you are and what you do, because there's a lot of questions I want to ask you based on the conversations we've had.
All right, all right. I will continue with English because majority speak English here.
Right.
However, in order to respect the ancestors, I have to greet you guys in their tongue, so that way they could be a part of it. So I wanted to make that very clear. From time to time, I might also detour to using certain terms in the Igbo language. For the sake of time, I would not like to take over this because I'm only a guest here and my time is limited. So
well, it's your episode. It's your episode.
Okay. So he already told you my name, Josiah Umezuruike. I am a trained by profession. I'm an engineer. By trade, a cartographer, and I interface my work with corporate America in the area of cybersecurity and secure software development. I've gone in my way to found a company called Lockdown, and Lockdown is a cybersecurity and secure software development and engineering company in South Carolina. So this company is very, very interesting to know about its foundation. The foundation of the company is that it borrowed a leaf from the knowledge of the past, the ancestral understanding of prediction. When it comes to what we call AFA, AFA is a system, oracle system that has the ability to predict the future and also to give you details of life experience that has been lived and that which is to come. The principle is based on the understanding of the land, which in itself, when we refer to the land, we're referring to Ani, Ajani, which is specific reference made to a particular location. So when we refer to that land, and we are tapping into the Afa, the depth of the earth, the depth of the sea. So we tap into the Afa, the knowledge of Afa, which allows us to be intertwined or be in one with everything that's created. So my knowledge came from expanding on what is already in place in Afa, which has different different media, but the medium that I quite well understand is the Ujiri medium, which I practice and I use very well as an initiate. I am what they call a Kajafo, where I come from. So I have interaction with various forces that effectively work with. And the main purpose is in the area of bringing back to normal health, and as far as what we call engineering, the Inca aspect of things. That's the area that I'm coming from. So I'm a problem solver, and because of the knowledge that I gathered in Alpha, I was able to bring them to the currency where I use them in technology of today. I've been able to bridge that gap using what we know from the past, the numbering system, which is hexadecimal. When you talk about hexadecimal, you're also talking about the binary system and the octet. So you're talking about all these things all in one. So our ancestors have a very sound understanding of them that they developed in the Ujiri method that I practice, which is almost like a computation that you do with your computer. It's the same way that the CPU operates with the logic gates and the NAND, NOR, or that's the same method. Only that this time is manual in the sense of human interfacing the tools that are being used. But other than that, the prediction itself is nothing that manual. It's on a high level, just like you do with the computers. Because if you're an initiate who understand how to use the tool, you must know the knowledge of the language that you can use to to interact with the tool. Just like in computers, you have the machine languages, and today you have the higher languages. like Python, Java, and etc. Same thing applies. So when the computer is doing on a level of the machine, what it's doing is turning electric impulses on and off. Same thing with the system that our ancestors have. When they cast the ujiri, you have 4 strings, 4 notes on each of the strings. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 strings, and each of the string has 4 notes, which have the probability of being on or off, meaning open or closed. So when you cast it, you're doing the same thing the computers are doing. But to interpret the meaning, you have to use a higher language. The higher language is within the spectrum, so that's how we access the spectrum. You call onto the forces there is that works with that, just like you use the right language for the computer to get the result that you want. Today you have the Chat GPT, which uses its own language, JavaScript and etc., to be able to get the result for you. Same thing, when that is casted, just like Chat GPT has its generational, its generative pre-trained transformer. That's just the same thing the alpha is. Alpha is already prepared and retained and processed with the land and all the instrument that is being used and prepared over a period of time to learn the land. Because you bury it for some time, just like you use lithography to develop the central processing unit for computers. You call it chips. And then you slap it on a motherboard and it will do open and close to give a particular result. Same thing applies with alpha. So it's being prepared. Chips is from sand. Sand, when you burn it to a very high temperature, it becomes silicon, and you use it and dope it with other elements like germanium and etc. You get it to move electrical current in a certain way. So our people know that, our ancestors know that. So you have the Ujiri system. You learn the language, you learn what it means when you put the words together. So we developed a number system from 0 to 15. From Obi to Ovu. Ovu is a completion, which the English will call 16, we call it Ovu. So that's how it works. So we name every, when we cast it, every permutation that we have has what it represents. Just like in digital electronics, it has what it represents. And then when you put all that it represents together, is the higher language. But I have to interpret it to you so you can understand it. So in that sense, I'm working as a computer. The person that's coming to me is also working as a computer. Only in this case, they're probably working as a database that I share information with. And I'm also working as a central processing unit, as well as a database, as well as a part of a network, and at the same time, as well as other peripherals that you have in a computer. That's what's happening there. The land itself is the spectrum where all the energy is carried on, and then the spectrum itself is where the motion, the information is in motion. So the land is what holds it together, is the glue. But then the information is in motion within the spectrums, different bands in the spectrums. There are visible ones, that's the one we're seeing right now. I'm talking to you guys, but there are many other ones that you cannot see or understand. You see, we shouldn't underplay those things. So when you look at what our ancestors have did, it simply says that nothing is new on the planet. It's just how it's being done, how it's being packaged. So because of what they have done at the bloom of human development, we know that we can also do much better by going back to it and bringing them to the currency. So when you hear artificial intelligence, actually, you can do it better than anybody else because it's being done by your ancestors a while back. And they will be happy for you to come back and take those knowledge and expand it, move forward. Because if we don't do that, the tools of the artificial that comes out of the machine learning will end up hurting us because we're not a part of the development. So we should be a part of the development because we have what it takes to build it in such a way that it would defend the earth, protect us, because we are part of the earth. Everything there is on it. So a living thing can only live on a living thing. A living thing can live on a living thing. A living thing cannot live on something that's dead. It won't
Wow.
last. So the earth lives. That's why we live on it for so long.
Wow. It's very interesting. I like that quote. And I'll quote you when I say it next, but I'll be using that quote because it sums up something that we've discussed, like on Patreon, like we have a group study, we've discussed it a few times. And that is the idea of the earth as an intelligence, right? The earth as an awareness and the earth as a living thing. So what you're saying is that Afa is tapping into or sourcing from the intelligence or the consciousness of the earth itself in order to do the programming, because most artificial intelligence is sourcing from things that we, the users, create, right? Either different inputs or conversations we've had or different actions online and so forth. Whereas Alpha is sourcing from the earth and doing something else. What would you say for the long run? Because there's a lot of fear and I don't even want to call it fear, but there's a lot of speculation as to where artificial intelligence is going to go. Do you see a specific way our ancestral knowledge can be used to mitigate some of the potential harmful effects of artificial intelligence in the future?
Yeah, of course I do. Because when you look at how our ancestors practice the use of predictions, what they're calling it artificial intelligence, you will notice that there are intents. Intents are involved. Like if you go to someone who's an initiate that's going to perform the seeing, the seer, to see something for you, there has to be an intent. They'll ask you, why are you here? You have to establish your intent. Once you establish your intent, that information goes to them. Now, they also make sure that they make you aware of where their power comes from. And then once they make you aware of where the power comes from, they will also ask you if you have anything to offer for what is going to be happening today.
Okay.
You're not being forced to do it. It's up to you. If you don't have anything to offer, they will still do what they need to do. But that's the requirement. That's the intent. That's the process that it has to flow. Why? Because if you are of clear mind, then it is possible for them to effectively pull information from you within the realm, because you volunteered it. You see, because you volunteered it.
So you're saying there's an advantage to working with volunteered information and volunteered consent as opposed to what we're doing now, as far as artificial intelligence goes.
They are forcing information from people because they have a malicious intent for those information they're forced just to make money. Using other people's information to make money without them knowing is bad on its own.
Okay.
It's not in line with how nature proposed these things. So that's why our ancestors give you the disclaimer first. They don't do stuff behind you. They tell you everything, and then they proceed with the process. And then when they're about to start, they give you a stick in your hand. That's the transfer of energy. You give it back. The energy is transferred. They have insight from you with that knowledge. So now when they're going to cast, you become a part of the cast. Because when they give you the stick, you touch it, you give it back to them, they take it, they use it to touch the strings. So the energy is being passed on. Just like artificial intelligence, you feed input into it. It doesn't have an answer. It tells you, I'm just an AI. Give me a little bit more details. Then you give it more details. And then you use the details you give it to give it back to you. Well, the advantage our ancestors have is they've already buried the string in the land where everybody walks on. Then that string aligns itself to that, because everything is in everything. Everything is one, and one is everything. But the frequencies are different. So it's organized that way. So when that string is being used to tap into nature again, because it's been buried with nature, it has the information on it. It can now connect to the spectrum because it's already on the ground. Everybody's foot is on the ground. And then you are tapping from the spectrum. A lot of information hit your head and the brain process it. What I mean by hitting your head, you have senses, right? Humans have senses. And most of the senses are on the skin, the eyes, the ears, the tongue, the taste buds, and the nose. And there are other senses that humans are not able to understand, like the pineal glands. They are there. So these things are what the ancestors use to get that deeper meaning that medical science can give. So it's different. They call it homeopathic, but they are really there. They do, is there, is apparent in our existence. So now we need to go back to understand and connect that to the application of artificial intelligence. Once we connect it to the application of artificial intelligence, we will realize that it's the same thing. That our forefathers were more advanced in that they do not violate human privacy and security. That's where we come in. We provide the security as well as the private online privacy, data and information security, because we know that how important that is. Without the privacy, data security and information security, your thoughts will continuously be hacked. Whatever you're thinking, someone will know what you do before you do it. That's thought hacking, and that's what's happening today. So if more of us understand the dangers that is our absence, the indigenous technology being absent in the current day technology, the dangers are astronomical. We should play a role in it and be able to mitigate the problems, because we don't want our children to grow inorganically. Like you have an experience that you already explained, that's in a physical sense, but that which happens in the mind might not be repaired in good enough time. So it's very important that we play this role in this emerging technology. We can't play with we cannot sit aside and watch anymore, because artificial intelligence is here to stay, and those who embrace it will continue to rule others. Yeah.
Wow, profound. There's something that I've been looking into, or that is just, it's just caught my mind as of recent, and it's this idea of the intelligence that is embedded in nature, right? My next, or I mean, I don't know if the video will be out by the time I put this out, but I'm working on a video on what we call aeromina, right? And so I'm looking into the intelligence in things like plants and trees and forests and so on and so forth. And I wanted to ask you, because right now with, what we're calling Western technology, we're not really able to access that. But I know that one of the aspects of being a Dibia is being able to access the wisdom of the medicines you're working with, be they the plants, be they the roots, and so on and so forth. So I wanted to ask you if you can expound on this, and if it's possible to see, because with Alpha, we're tapping into earth consciousness, which I don't really separate from plant consciousness either. But do you think that we'll eventually be able to use technology to tap into plant consciousness and things like that?
Yeah, we could be able to use technology to tap into anything, because plants itself, they vibrate at a certain frequency. If you want to know that, you could try to get a sound from a plant by allowing by using some kind of sensor. I think people have done it in the past, and they've seen the result that the plant can even sing. So what I'm saying is we should go back to first understand nature itself. For instance, I do know that trees are very, very they're like conscious, like they are conscious.
Yeah.
I do know that the closer you are to a tree, the more immune you become to diseases. The closer you are to a tree, the more you become immune to certain diseases that will affect other people. It won't affect you because you are closer to a tree. You're taking a walk in the park all the time. And it's so much so at some point that you cannot be comfortable without going out to the trees.
Yeah.
You see, you cannot be comfortable without going out to the trees. And I also know that sometimes this might be weird, sound weird, but it's true. Sometimes you pray under a tree, you will see the leaves of the tree vibrate. There is no wind, but they vibrate. These are some of the things, strange things that happens that we haven't been able to use science to determine. But I'm encouraging people who are in the scientific field to start looking into all these unknown sciences that are normally people classify them as paranormal or something like that. That these things are might not be. It's a limitation of the science itself because of the tools that we are using to probe. But it also is an expansion, a new field to discover, which will eventually give humans information to move forward. And then information that can protect us further. Like I do know that being close to a tree gives you immunity. Simple as that. But do I have a scientific way of explaining it to somebody? Not yet. It's not my area. But when it comes to alpha, yes, I have a sound understanding of how it applies into the practical human life, like how we use it in security, how we use it in cybersecurity, how we use it to protect data, how we use it to protect information, because of the uniqueness that's built in nature itself. I think that a bunch of stuff that we never thought are conscious. That there's nothing in nature that is not connected to us. If we are conscious, then everything else would have been conscious.
Right. I've been privileged to have a moment or to just have a time in my life where I sit down and I look back at our ancestral wisdom and what our ancestors said and did and how they lived and so forth. Because prior to that, I was very limited in my thinking. And one of those limits, now I look back at those limits, which to me seemed logical, right? I look back at them and it seems funny. It's funny to me to believe that we human beings are the only things carrying intelligence, right? As a logical person. I know nothing on my physical body is completely unique to me from the universe, right? It all came from somewhere. I'm a composite of these different things, all of us, that kind of thing, right? So why then would this consciousness just be, you understand? It almost sounds like something a kid would believe, right? It's just you that has this thing, that kind of thing. So,
yeah, your composition of many things, elements, iron, you have zinc, you have all of that. They must have come from somewhere. And the most notorious place is possibly the sun itself. So they are all coming from somewhere, and we are formed that it is. It's all atoms, So if the same atoms are found in stones, what makes them different for us? It's just all about packaging.
Right.
We are packaged from a biological sense. The chemistry is the same, but the biology is different. You see, from a biological sense. Same thing applies with artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is not new, it's an old technology that is being reinvented in the modern day for prediction. The only thing it does is prediction and statistics on an advanced level, which yield a much favorable result than any other one. So that's how it is. The same thing is in alpha. There's a Dibia alpha that's much, much, much better, more advanced than another. Their prediction is always on point. There's some that are subpar. Probably they're not, maybe they're not thoroughbred, they learned it, or they're not first-hand experience from, the ancestors and etc. So they cannot be that accurate. Same thing applies today. So, one has a physical understanding of the world and one has a spiritual understanding of the world. That's what you're seeing here. So we want to show that the spiritual understanding of the world is what gives rise to the physical manifestation.
Right.
So the other group come from disintegration to understand. We come from integration to understand. So the word is, one group are looking for differences and similarities, and another group is looking for similarities and differences.
Yeah.
See the difference? That's what it's all about. You see, one is looking for differences. That's why they created yellow, black man, yellow man, brown man. That's their system. They created different schools. Each schools think they are better than the other. Then they created classes, economic class, all that. But then there's another group. It doesn't create that. It looks for similarities. What makes us the same? Even if your skin color is different, what makes us the same? So you look at the blood. See, the blood is always red.
Right.
So we start from there and move into other things.
There's an ilu that communicates this idea very clearly. And it says that if you look in the burrow of the rabbit, you'll understand the burrow of the shrew. You understand?
There you go.
That type of thing. That I can learn about me by looking at you.
Yeah.
You can learn about me or you by looking at the next person or a tree or the sun and so on and so forth. So I really like the way you put that. So by this point, people are probably wondering, who is this guy? Who is this guy? And how does he know all these things and so on and so forth? Because you are an infinite well of wisdom and understanding. And I've been blessed to know you. And so I wanted to, when I kind of got to know you, when we started talking, you told me the story of how you have become a Dibia, or how you came into, I don't know if it's the title you used or what, but how you came into knowing what you know or being who you are. Let me say that. So I wanted to ask if you'd be okay with sharing that story, or this is very interesting.
So it's a tough one here, but I like to share it. The reason why I want to share it is it is important for us to know who we are, because if you don't know who you are, it's like you don't know where you come from. If you don't know where you come from, when I ask my son, he says, if you don't know where you're coming from and you don't know where you're going, what's that? He said, you're lost. So we don't want to be lost. We want to tap into our names. Our names is where the power is, because our name is our root, and our root is where the power is. Once we get cut off from that, we're gone, we're done, okay? So we are of different branches, but we have one root. Though some of us were born here, some of us weren't born here in the United States, some of us were all the other places, all the other part of the world. But at the end of the day, when you are not connected to the land, when you do not know your ancestors, the matter in life, the life matters will be difficult for you. You see? So if you don't know these things, it will be hard for you. Like a good example would be some of us that have been chasing some skills all over their life for many years, and they weren't able to achieve those things. Not because they weren't smart. They're smart, but there's something missing. You see, they're not tapping to their roots, their power source. For me, I came from a very religious family, and apparently in my family, I'm the one that tapped into the ancestral line. It's not an easy thing for me. Okay, it was very difficult. I wouldn't accept it for a long time until it was very clear that I must accept it. So I went into a trance. This thing started when I was at a place in my life. I had to do certain things, and there are many obstacles, and I need to find out why are these obstacles in the way. So in a trance, in a deep trance, a lot of things were revealed to me. And it was very clearly, it was made very clear to me that there's something in my ancestral home that has been neglected for a long time. And apparently, people in my family, they know about that, but they're Christians. They're not going to attend to it.
Right.
So that knowledge, in the past, I've been like, we are Christians, we are trained not to, everything about our ancestors is demonic, but that's wrong. Actually, everything about our ancestors more like should be what you look at as Christianity. If you practice it right, it should be looked at the proper way. The other way is demonic. If you look at it, the other way is demonic.
Right.
The reason why I say that is if you're practicing ordinana, you know for sure you're not gonna lie. Because if you lie, whatever you're dealing with will visit you. It's not gonna be a very friendly visit.
Right.
And there are certain things you cannot do. You have to keep your hands clean. But in Christianity, Jesus will forgive you. Now it doesn't work like that. Whatever you sow, that's what you're gonna reap. It comes right back to you. Now, my story is very unique. So I was initiated by my ancestors. They revealed this secret to me directly. They led me to places where, just like in the Bible, you have the Saul, when he became Paul, the process he went through. I went through all of that process. You see, this is where revealed to me, information was given to me, and I tested them and I saw them to be true. And because I was convinced, because I saw them to be true, I also, in my family lineage, our name is Ume. Ume are one of those Ume Osu Ohu. They are the same people. They are just the priestly class in ancient Igbo period. When Arachuku was in its heydays, they all served in that place with the Izes doing the sub priestly work. So that's my family lineage. So that tells a lot of story about the lineage I came from. So ever since I accepted what is in my life book, Iuwa, basically. So I've seen my life go in the direction that if somebody would have told me that it would be that way, I would never even believe that it would be that way, because I realized who I was and I accepted it, and I wanted to follow that suit in the path. So most of the time when I go to a meeting, I know the outcome of the meeting before I go, because I work with my ancestors. I work with them. When you look at in the church, you have the pope or bishop or whatever. In the level of my ancestral worship, I'm more like that because I'm an akajofo. Akajofo means that you have an authority to perform certain things which ordinary human beings cannot perform. I'm not talking about the offer that you bought. I'm talking about offer that was given to you, initiated to you by the ancestors, by them. That by them themselves is different. And now you have the ogu and et cetera, which is actually the honesty part, the one that will keep you alive. You see, the offer will fight for you because the authority that you have, and then you have the ogu, which is the balance aspect of it, which comes together to effect justice in the land. So what I have to explain it to you would take forever, but a lot of things happened during that period of time, and now it's very clear to me. I understand the days, I understand the morning. Every time I wake up the morning and I do my oji and gommo, goji, you pretty much know how the day is going to end.
Yeah.
By going through all those processes, you pretty much know it. If anything looks bad, then you have to appease to remove it. It is necessary that we practice the way of our ancestors. Look at the Japanese people. They are very aware that they were ancestors of Black people. They keep that till today. When the Japanese prime minister is being sworn in, he goes to Shinto shrine. The Chinese, the Indians, they don't know that. But why can't we understand this and modify what we have for the future that is here? Future is life. The past is the master. It teaches you. And the past informs the future. So my story is very odd, very, very interesting, at the same time insignificant. But I'm convinced that this is the path for me. And I have nothing against anyone who's a Muslim or Christian, but I'm sure that critically you must understand that as long as we remain in those paths, in those regions, we will continue to be second class because we're masking our true strength, our true power, even by the names that we take and etc. So these things are in our way. We have to reestablish. And the question is, why is it when somebody becomes a Christian, they change their name? because they are serving a different entity. So you must change your name. So when you're serving the entity of your ancestors, which is really you, you are wearing the right software and the right hardware. You're taking the right operating system in the right machine. And that's the right way. You can have other beliefs, but the core belief should be this: the ordinana, the ways of the ancestors. It will help you to understand the reason why you must be at peace with all men and retain the balance of nature. That's what it's going to do for you. It's going to make you understand that you won't lie for material gains. You will no longer lie for material gains because you know where all these material gains came from. Everything you see on this planet, this earth, came from underwater. Simple as that. Whatever you want, you can get it. You just have to know how to ask for it. So there's no need for you to lie to someone to take what is theirs. You can have yours.
Right.
If you know who you are.
And it's interesting too, because once you begin to look at the ways your ancestors or our ancestors saw the world and the way nature is in truth, like I said earlier, a lot of those things, these presets that people would have in their mind just growing up in, I guess, the modern day, what we're calling the modern day, they seem ridiculous, right? Like the idea of scarcity. The idea of scarcity, one of the things that I'm always proud of, and I don't know if Igbo people have ever sat down and acknowledged it. This is the only place in the world, on earth, in humankind, period, that every man, woman, and child has a parcel of land to call their own. And it's not Igbo land is not an expansive, gigantic place, right? Compared to other places, right? That type of thing. You look at a place like Russia, and there'll be people with no land. There's landlessness there.
Oh yeah, there's landless people. The czars own the land. The kings own the land, but not in Igbo land. No,
but
the family owns the land.
Yes, it's the only place that you scale the entire world. I'm a student of history since before I could even speak, and I can tell you this is a fact. It's the only place in the world that this has ever happened, and it shows that this thing is possible, right? This different approach that if you claim what is yours as opposed to looking at what belongs to somebody else, you will be surprised how much is there for everybody, right? That kind of thing. I always, when we have our group discussions on Patreon, I've mentioned this a few times. The fact that, they've done the statistics and everything. They've said that every human being in the world can live in a U.S. suburban size home, which is a lot more property than most people in the world have, in the state of Texas, and the rest of the world can be left open. Every human being in the world can fit in the state of Texas comfortably. We won't be crowded. There'll be ample yard between us and the next neighbor. Every single human being. But this idea of scarcity, even scarcity of oil. My dad, growing up, I didn't grow up extensively at home. But, my dad did. People have done that kind of thing. My dad told me that oil is as abundant as sand. You understand? Anything they tell you about oil being scarce and not being scarce, it's as abundant as sand. This is all illusion, right? So I don't know. I'm fortunate to have turned around and started looking at things the way I look at things in its original form, because there's a very big game being played on everybody.
Yes.
There's a very big game, and you spoke on it, the classification system, the separation system, the up and down system. This one is up, this one is greater, this one is lesser than. It's an interesting thing. So, yeah. Josiah, I wanted to ask you before we kind of wrap up, because you shared a lot that is transformative. You shared things that I'm going to carry with me through life, and I appreciate that. How can we get a hold of you and your work, or anybody that wants to reach out and know more, and maybe even be a part of your efforts? Is there a place we can reach out to you at?
Yeah. You can go to lockdown.com or teach1teach1.us. Either two of those websites have my information on there. You can reach me. I'm also on LinkedIn. I don't know if you have my LinkedIn link. Let me see if I can get it.
I avoid LinkedIn like the plague. But I know a lot of the people that are like in my audience, they have LinkedIn and they're professionals, things like that. But
okay.
Yeah. So it's common. So send me the link and I'll put it in the description. So if anybody wants to reach out to you there, and that'll be fine.
LinkedIn would be good because I'm always on LinkedIn and I don't do Facebook too much, but I have other websites where I could be reached, and what else? Basically, I don't do a lot of online stuff. I think if they want to reach me, you know how they can reach me. It's not a problem. I can send you to LinkedIn. It's just for a connection, and if they want to reach me and have other conversations, and then they will know how to reach me.
Wonderful.
But awesome. The LinkedIn would be nice, so that way they get to see what I do. The professionals get to see some of the stuff that I have on a professional side, and it's all as a result of my knowledge of the ancestors in the past. That's why I develop all this technology.
So the project
I didn't have that connection. Yeah?
No, I interrupted you. Go ahead. I apologize.
So lockdown, LOKDON.com. They can find me there. Teach1teach1.us. They can find me there. As a matter of fact, Teach1 is a 501c that has been approved by the Department of Labor in the U.S. state of South Carolina. They are taking application for apprenticeship program. You get paid to learn a skill in information technology and cybersecurity technician. Wow. So if you know anyone that's looking for a career in this area that wants to do it, this is now the right time for them to put in the application. So this is what we've been able to achieve here. So we want to train these people and we want to pay them to do that because they don't have to get a loan to learn all these skill sets. So
you are each one teach one is your organization, correct?
Yeah, but it's 501c.
501c. And people are being paid to learn new skills in IT, technology, and so forth.
So there are 17 programs we develop curriculum for, but the two that's been accepted as we speak is information technology specialist 1 and cybersecurity technician. So it's been accepted by the Department of Labor. So that means we can teach that now. So we are working with some school, HBCU schools on that. So it so happened that you called me for this meeting, so I wanted to use this opportunity to, broadcast that.
Oh, so please do.
Investors should put in their application now at teach1teach1.us.
Wonderful. Wow, that's powerful. This is my first hearing about the project.
Really? I thought you knew about it all this while.
We've only talked about lockdown, and we've only talked about the one. Yeah.
Wow, I thought you knew about this.
No, you just dropped this like nuclear bomb on me, like it's casual. Wow. So I'm like,
maybe I was not talking much about. I thought I talked much about it. Maybe I wasn't. Okay, I see.
Every time it's been about the cybersecurity, and then of course my own work and that kind of thing. So even you've sent me the email as far as lockdown and everything like that. So that's what I reckon. But here's the thing. Anybody that knows me knows I don't lean on my memory. So it's not it's not an asset of mine. Perhaps you brought it back, you brought it up, or you've still spoken about it and I forgot. I'm not going to doubt that at all. So it wouldn't be the first, but it's not.
I think.
Go ahead.
I didn't talk much about it because he said a lot of pushback when I was trying to implement that in the state. Really? It was difficult, but the ancestors didn't let me down. Of course, it was very difficult. I had to go to DC to get it approved, man. They won't touch it over here.
What was the pushback?
Huh?
What was the pushback?
The pushback is the way the pushback is the way this place is run. It's not run like other part of the United States.
Okay.
So it has a history. So I don't want to get into that history. But then I had to go through DC, and then I got it. I got it taken care of.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I went to DC. I made my case very clear. You know, we have to do these things out here so that our people, the underrepresented or what they call underserved communities, can benefit. I was able to show them that small businesses in this region cannot afford these skill sets. And small businesses, when they're hit by a security incident, 60% of them go out in the first year of business. When they're hit by a security incident, they fold. That's it.
Okay.
Then if you provide this kind of training, and it's affordable, wherein they're being paid to do the training. So that means all the small businesses and association set up will benefit. That's how it's set up. It's not easy because still don't know how to work together. So some of our people think that they're different from those that live here. That came 400 years ago. That's a wrong purview.
Yeah,
The group of people, some of us suffered a lot. That were put into terrible conditions where their lands were no longer touching the ground that strengthens them. They became very weak mentally and not necessarily physically, because they are probably stronger than us in a physical sense because they persevered and went through all these difficult times to still be here. But mentally, they're not there. They're off. You see, psychologically, they're off because of the trauma that they went through. Without them, we would not be here. So we have to give credit where credit is due. Civil rights, they made it possible. Without civil rights, nobody will be here. Not the Chinese, not the Japanese, not us of recent. So we have to recognize all of that and do the right thing. We're all the same people, man. You know, so that's how I look at it. So we have to be brothers keepers wherever we are, because I've been able to prove that the ancestors are the same. It doesn't matter where you live. The power is still the same. Right. It doesn't matter where you live. So in my life, it was different. So it's time has passed when you always have to be in the soil to do anything. So they're sending a different message now. So there's a lot of awakening. A lot of people are open and realizing the errors of our people in abandoning their true nature for something very superficial. Yeah.
All right. Josiah Umezuruike, I want to thank you very much for your time. What you're saying is, of course, powerful. And I'm hoping this will not be the last. Right. I'm humbly extending invitation. I want to, have more of these conversations. You have a lot to share. And so I want to be a part of that sharing process. So as always, go ahead. It sounds like you're going to say something.
No, absolutely. That's great. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
Cool. Nice. Cool. Yeah. So as always, I always send off the proper way. On behalf of the entire Ezinulo Ndi Medicine Shell, our entire community, Igadi, Igeto, Ngobala, Itiriaka, Igadi, Nuri, Afo, Nampo. Thank you very much for your time, Josiah. Appreciate it.